Greetings and salutations, Interdistance. It is Owlphotech, and here we are with another delightfully amazing video coming directly from me to you through the internet via the YouTube video sharing platform. And right now I'm literally going to get up and turn on my light. Because I turned it off originally because my baldingness is reflecting into the camera. And I'm not a terribly big fan of my baldingness, making it harder for people to see because it's deadly reflective. So anyways, here we go with my delightful little overview review of Traveller Referee's Screen from Mongoose Publishing. This is the referee screen for Mongoose Traveller 2nd edition. Not to be confused with the older or classic Traveller or Traveller 5th edition, which is done by Far Future Enterprises, which interestingly enough has yet to release much more than just that slipcase I have, which I can actually also cover as well. But anyways, this is just a simple, delightful sheet. Nothing terribly amazing about it. This Game Master screen, or referee screen as they like to call it, retails for $19.99, which is $10 cheaper than the Game Master screen for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th edition. You can go ahead and check out that video. Much like that one, this one is a vertical orientation screen. So instead of being landscape, like a lot of newer screens in the modern era, it is vertical sort of setup. It has delightfully beautiful artwork depicting a cockpit of a ship. I am not a super expert in Traveller. I'm just a big fan of it. I just got really into it in recent times, learning about it, particularly through the channel Seth Sarkowski. He was one of the first people that really introduced me to it, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. This is very much in line with like Starfinder. Oh, if you're curious why there's nothing on the backside of that box, is because the box is tucked on my other shelf in my project area, because I'm working on a campaign for Pathfinder 2nd edition, and I really like to use beginner boxes as like a universal. When I introduce a new group to a TTRPG, I like to start with the beginner box, have them run through that the first time. It's great for brushing up on the core essential mechanics for me. And it's great for teaching the players new concepts and mechanics, even if they're already been playing the system before with someone else. But anyways, back to Traveller. This screen I do absolutely love, by the way. Being that it is an all-white screen with black, it has a high contrast ratio. I've said in the past that I'm a traditional painter. And people find that really weird that I like black and white, because this is actually very much in line with the concept of economy in art, where simplicity of a art style or a subject can heighten the emotional connection with it, because there is not an excessive amount of other things layered over the top of it. Japanese ink paintings. I forgot the exact term for them. I got some of them. I made myself. Are really simple drawings with very flowing motions, and the motion in which you paint the subject is supposed to be evocative of the nature of that subject. Flowing lines for an orangutan swinging through a canopy. Really simple, just smooth flowing motion with some power and gravity behind it because there are large animals swinging, but incredibly strong but fluid. In this, you got the classic sci-fi bracketing from like old displays, breaking up the various sections in this here, and being that it is simple, clear text with darkened or boldened words to start off a sentence is actually quite nice. It is intelligently spread out all over the place. Not all over the place, like on that wall and on that wall, but it is intelligently spaced out with enough dead space between each section that everything doesn't run together, which is handy dandy for people with dyslexia and autism to process what they're seeing on the screen. Because if I hold this up to you, and you can see there is a lot of empty space between the lines and sections, that it's actually much easier to read than a lot of other Game Master screens. And then you have some sections that are boxed off here and there, but it's mostly open. The boxing largely breaks up sections. Like you'll have a box, an open section, a box, an open section, a box, an open section, a open section, open section, box, 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 which is kind of weird that they go from box to open section, box to open section, and then they go into open, open, box, box, box. Gotta break up those patterns, man. But anyways, flipping over to this other side, you can see pretty much it's almost all large, simple charts, very well spaced out. It's not terribly difficult. On this first section, you got characteristic modifiers, effect results table, action summary, time frames table, because time is very important in TTRPGs. If you don't keep record of your times meticulously, you can result in people playing a game and then they get to the end of it and then they kind of realize that everything happened within like 2 weeks, or feels like it technically, the campaign either feels like it was canon-wise a year long but only happens in 2 weeks, or you have a campaign that's only 2 weeks long, but it feels like a year. So it screws with people's sense of time, then screws with how they interact and understand the world and how they immerse themselves into a world. Which is a good reminder that some players don't need a whole lot of stuff to get into a world. The rules can be really light and fluffy, and then some systems can be super deep and complex, and some people will feed off of the depth and complexity of a system, and it will immerse them into a world. However, if the game system is light and fluffy, it detracts from the immersion into the world. Traveller is a non-level, skill-based system. So you could play a Traveller campaign in Traveller time and in the real world 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and there's not going to be a serious case of power creep that kicks in. Where a level-based system like Dungeons & Dragons and Pathfinder and Starfinder, you can actually run into a situation where your characters have lived so long and accumulated so much magic and weapons and technology that they are basically unstoppable forces. This is more of a case in Dungeons & Dragons than Starfinder and Pathfinder, but it's, that's a thing, But anyways, you got task chains. Yeah, see, by the way, if you ever have any questions about some of this stuff, I would highly suggest going over to Seth Sorkowski's channel and watching his videos on Traveller, because he does a really good job of reviewing adventures and content, and And he also offers some good homebrew that smooths off some of the points or the sharp edges for it. So, yeah. You got a vehicle speed section, a vehicle critical hit location section, a radiation exposure table, or tables, spacecraft range bands, spacecraft scale weapons, common modifiers for spacecraft attacks, spacecraft damage scale, down here, mission missile flight table, spacecraft critical hit location table right down here on this bottom corner. And then on the next section, you have law level table, because the laws between world to world change a little bit. Some worlds are gun-free zone worlds, and some worlds are like everyone can have rocket launchers. Okay. So it's very important to keep in mind that your players are going to run into a lot of situations, and it is also very enriching to have various law levels when it comes to towns, kingdoms, planets, and such and so forth in a TTRPG. That can actually heighten the immersion, but it also is a fun little puzzle for players to figure out, oh dear, how do I get to sneak my weapon into town, kind of thing, you know? But anyways, you got encounter distance, counter range band section here, ranged attack modifiers. You have your armor section, you have your weapons down here. And as I said before, everything is very well spaced out and clean and clear. So there's not a whole lot of run together lines. Nothing is going to be terribly hard to read, because they made an intelligent choice of having just a white background, which is high reflectivity. So if you have a vertical screen like this, it tends to get dark down here. But seeing as it's a white background, it catches what light is in the room, bounces it, and comes back, hits your eyes. If you're lucky, you don't have tons of super bright lights behind you and results you in blindness. But generally, it becomes easier to read because it has a good reflectivity ratio to it, or contrast. And the dark text and the dark borders help clean up keep the eyes from wandering from one thing to another and getting lost. So I say this is an amazingly good Game Master screen. Some people probably still want it be in a horizontal. I probably would score this something like a 3.5 star situation, 3.75. It's in that super nice territory that it is well made, and it is well organized, and it all contains all kinds of awesome, useful information that your game master or referee would most definitely love using and can use on a regular basis or a semi-regular basis depending on the situation. There might be value, however, in having a more social encounter oriented screen with social encounter rules, and having a screen like this is basically leans towards weaponry. A good chunk of this screen is you got armor, weapons, and then you have a spaceship combat rules and maneuverability rules here. And then you have basically dealing with encounters and the law, and you have over here some basic mechanics. So this is leaning towards vehicle and combat oriented to the screen as it is. And maybe having a screen that is more oriented towards social, as I said, would be awesome. But anyways, that's all. I shouldn't ramble too much more on it. And, hey, Thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. And see you next time. And have a delightful day, a nice night, a wonderful week, and a magnificent month.